recording.
Hello.
There we
Yeah,
go.
perfect.
There we go. So I just emailed you a bunch of
Hmm.
natal charts. One
Yeah.
of them is just an ordinary natal chart, and then all the other files, the ones that are vertical
Mm.
instead of horizontal,
Yes.
transits. So they have like green symbols along the outer loop, which are
Okay.
where the planets are relative to your natal chart at various dates within the next 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how they work. It looks very complicated. Yeah.
So this audio recording is going to be shared publicly on crowgirlastrology.com
Yes.
and probably as an audio only YouTube video and
Uh-huh.
audio only video on PeerTube, and you consent to that?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
So this session is really important and useful as a sample on my Crowgirl Astrology website because you are a person who I don't personally know at all. I
Yes.
don't know anything about you really other than your very basic like birth date, birth time, birthplace data. And
Uh-huh.
the reason why it's so useful and important to have at least some of the examples be with a person who I don't know at all, even as an acquaintance,
Hmm.
is because I feel like if you know a few things about a person beforehand, that might bias your
Yeah.
interpretation of them.
Right.
And so there's going to be free sample readings on my website that are based on people who I personally know. And I'm probably going to do a few celebrities like Michael Jackson.
Oh,
But
nice. Hmm.
there's going to be you, and there's going to be a woman uh, who's also taking up the offer, who I don't know at all. So these are great examples for people to listen to
Hmm.
about me giving a as unbiased astrological reading as possible.
Yes.
All right. So I'm basically going to be interpreting your charts as I look at them.
Hmm.
And I will give you explanations as to why I come to certain conclusions about things.
Okay.
So, first of all, I'm just looking at your natal chart without transits first.
Hmm.
And what I see a quite interesting looking chart. So, the first thing that kind of stands out to me is that the majority of your planets are on the western half, which is it's kind of like reverse. So it's like on the right side of the chart,
Oh. Uh-huh.
but that's the western side of your natal chart.
Yeah, they're
So
all on one side.
yeah, so it's on the other side of natal charts and all astrological charts, all like horoscopes,
Hmm.
have two major axes. So there's the ascendant descendant axes, which if you look at the image files, you can see one that's horizontal and it says AC on the left side and DC on the right side.
Yes.
And then there is the medium coli, inum coli, or midheaven, whatever axis.
Yeah, yeah, that's like up and down, but slightly opposite.
Yeah. So most of your planets are on the western or on the right side of that MCIC axis.
Yeah, the other
And
side is empty.
then you've got a western, because it's kind of like a mirror, or like reverse. So
Hmm.
you got a western heavy natal chart here. So what that means is you could be a person who's quite capable of being independent and thinking for yourself and whatnot, but
Hmm.
you might find it frustrating to get what you want or need out of life without cooperation from other people.
Hmm.
You usually need cooperation from other people in order for things that you want out of life to get accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah, which can be I sometimes it's nice, because you're not alone. You got people to help you out,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully. But the downside is, yeah, you do kind of need their help. You could have people in your life who don't want something that you want, and other people who do want something that you want. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
people who do have like common goals and a common worldview to yours, who do help you get things done out of life that you want.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like the other people in your life all have to be on board, but
Yeah.
usually would need other people to go along with your vision for what you want out of life, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So what I see also, so we'll get started here. I see, so the big three, what we usually refer to as the big three in astrology,
Mm-hmm.
are rising sign, sun sign, and moon sign.
Okay.
So those are the three details in a natal chart that are the most heavily emphasized in someone's character and their personality.
Mm-hmm.
So one interesting thing that I see right off the bat is you got your sun in Cancer and you got your moon in Leo. And
Mm-hmm.
it helps to understand which planets are associated with which signs of the zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
So someone's planet could be in any of the signs of the zodiac, but there are signs of the zodiac that are homes for that planet,
Okay.
that domicile.
Uh-huh.
So you've got the sun in the moon's domicile of Cancer, and you've got the moon in the sun's domicile of Leo.
Uh-huh.
when you got when you got two different planets and they're in each other's signs, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
what we call that a mutual reception.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, so mutual reception planets are very, very powerful. And it just so happens to be that the two most significant planets, the most personal planets to you, are in mutual reception.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I would really, I don't think, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your sun and your moon don't really make any major aspects. They make a very minor aspect.
What does that mean?
So they don't make any major aspects, which
Mm-hmm.
a planet in two planets in adjacent signs like Cancer and Leo, because Cancer and Leo are adjacent signs,
Uh-huh.
wouldn't normally make a major aspect. So the major aspects are conjunctions, oppositions, squares, trines, sextiles.
Uh-huh.
But you've got a semi-quadrant or what. Some of the names of the minor aspects are a little difficult to pronounce. I think
Yeah.
it's like a semi-quadrant that you have between your sun and the moon. But that doesn't matter that they only make a very weak minor aspect because
Uh-huh.
they're in mutual reception.
Right.
So
Okay.
that means that so the sun in someone's chart represents what their ego consciously wants,
Uh-huh.
how they envision themselves, whereas the moon is like your natural instinctive emotional self. Our Western culture tends to really emphasize the sun sign, but
Mm-hmm.
in other cultures and in the history of astrology going back centuries or even millennia, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of societies actually consider the moon to be more important than the sun.
It's closer.
Yeah. So one really neat thing that one will learn about Western astrology as they go through studying it is your sun sign is definitely a very important part of you,
Mm-hmm.
and it is you, but it doesn't whatever sign your sun is in does not come as naturally to you as your moon. The most natural thing that comes to you
Mm-hmm.
is your moon.
Okay.
So you've got your moon in Leo, and it's right at the beginning of your fifth house. So this is fascinating because uh, the sun and Leo and the fifth house are all associated with each other. Now you've got your moon there, not the sun.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your moon in the sign that's associated with the sun, which is Leo, and
Uh-huh.
in the house that's associated with Leo, which is the fifth house. So you got that there. And I believe, yeah, I see you've got Venus. And yeah, I think, let's see here. Yeah, and then you got Saturn at 27 degrees Leo. So you got your moon at 17 degrees Leo. You got
Mm-hmm.
Venus at 27 degrees Leo, sorry, 25 degrees Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Saturn at 27 degrees
Those
Leo.
sound close.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say per se like that would be like an 8 degree orb. I think it's a little too wide for a conjunction. But you've got your Leo at 17. You got your moon at 17 Leo, and you got Venus at 25 Leo.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't consider that to be a conjunction because that a conjunction means two planets on top of each other, basically.
Okay, they're close but not on top of each other.
Yeah, they're close but not on top of each other. But
Mm-hmm.
Venus at 25 degrees Leo is uh, is close to your Saturn at 27 degrees Leo.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a pretty weird astrologer to not accept a 2 degree orb for a conjunction. So I would,
That sounds, yeah, 2 degrees sounds closer. A lot closer.
yeah. So I would say definitely you've got Venus conjunct Saturn in Leo in your fifth house, which is interesting to say the least.
Okay.
Because Venus is about what you want and what you desire and how you try to appeal to people in a kind of pleasant way, in a pro-social sort of way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas Saturn is like the harsh taskmaster. And also,
Uh-huh.
Venus isn't necessarily exalted in Leo, but exalted means it's not a domicile sign, but it's a sign that the planet really likes to be in, even though it's not domicile.
Okay.
But even though Venus isn't necessarily exalted in Leo, it's still quite happy. It's not
Okay.
in detriment or fall. But you've got Saturn in Leo, and Saturn is definitely in fall in Leo because the two planets associated with Saturn are Capricorn, and I'm a Sun Capricorn, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very I definitely think that Capricorn should be the main sign associated with Saturn. But traditional astrologers also sometimes consider Aquarius to be ruled by Saturn, although the main ruler of Aquarius in modern times is definitely Uranus.
How does it change over
So,
time?
but still, even though some modern astrologers don't consider Saturn to be the ruler of Aquarius, whereas more traditional astrologers would.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's still it's still pretty much universally accepted that Saturn functions a lot easier in Aquarius than it does in Leo. So
Okay.
that just means that having a planet in its fall just means that you've got like a little bit of an extra challenge when it comes to that planet. You got to work a little bit harder with
Mm-hmm.
that. And sometimes some of those things it's actually good to have like a little few challenges here and there in your natal chart.
Mm-hmm.
Because when astrologers talk about how it's good to have some challenge in someone's natal chart, they're usually referred to having some like opposition or square aspects. But I would also say sometimes having a planet in fall can be kind of a fruitful sort of challenge that you have.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So Saturn but definitely with your Venus Saturn conjunction,
Mm-hmm.
because Venus isn't in fall or detriment there, I would say Venus is still, and plus it's the more personal planet. I would say Venus is probably the stronger influence in your Venus Saturn conjunction.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still kind of it still kind of feels like someone's raining in your parade to have like Saturn right on Venus. And it's also in the bottom half of your chart.
Yeah.
So whereas the let's say the right side of the chart is other people and the left side of the chart is you,
Uh-huh.
you can think of the top half of your chart as like the public and the
Mm-hmm.
lower half of the chart as your more private self.
Okay.
You've also got a preponderance of planets in that like lower, more private half, but it's on the right side or the western side of the chart. So that, you know, if you think about your home life, your family, but other people, that
Mm-hmm.
could be family members, that could be guests who you welcome in your home, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's probably where you shine. Those are probably the areas of life that are the most significant to you. I see an ascendant in the early degrees of Taurus, definitely giving me a birth time like 1:20 a.m. makes me
Mm-hmm.
feel a lot more confident that it's an accurate birth time than if you said it was a round number like 1 a.m.
Got off my birth certificate.
Yeah, there you go, right? So you
Yeah.
got a Taurus ascendant, and it's in the early degrees of Taurus. So that means that, so your ascendant is your initial reactions to the outside world,
Mm-hmm.
how people initially perceive you. But sometimes people get misled into thinking that that's just the mask. But no,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your ascendant is very much a part of you, and it still plays an important role in your relationships with people who you know very well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the first thing that someone who doesn't know you very well would see when they interact with you. So it's your Taurus is a very earthy, grounded, practical, stubborn sort of sign, and I'm very familiar with Taurus energy personally because I've got an exalted moon in Taurus, and I've got a very loaded second house, and the second house is associated with Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand Taurus energy very well. So people probably find you very comforting and approachable. People probably feel comfortable around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you probably at some point have had someone in your life say, confide something into you and be like, Jimmy, I feel safe with you telling you this thing that makes me feel vulnerable.
Strangers too.
Or that, yeah, or you're not gonna freak out like other people would when I tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, that's very much the Taurus ascendant. Um, my grandmother, I'm pretty certain, had a Taurus ascendant, and she was very much a creature of habit. She really liked having tea time at a certain time per day. She
Mm-hmm.
loved being her lazy boy and watching her soap operas on TV.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So you might not have the same hobbies that my late grandmother had, but you probably like your routines at home that kind of give you a sense of stability and
Mm-hmm.
grounded, right? So it's very much a Taurian sort of thing, and you got Taurus rising there. So
Mm-hmm.
I got Scorpio rising. So people think I'm emotionally intense and a little too much sometimes, but with you, it's the opposite. You got Taurus rising, so people think that you are someone who's emotionally stable, who's not gonna freak out, who's if they say anything negative about your Taurus ascendant, it might be that you're boring,
Yeah.
but that's about it, right? Stubborn. All the fixed signs are stubborn, but especially Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, and then you got so and you got your sun and you got Jupiter conjunct in your third house, but close to your IC, which is like your Inum Coli, which is like the it's the axis of your private life. And so I imagine that you are probably someone who really thrives at home. Like you got most of your planets down there. You got quite a bit of activity in your fifth house too. Fifth house is like hosting a party and your children and whether or not you have children, if you do have children, then it's related to the fifth house.
And I
If
don't, yeah.
you don't have children, then the fifth house is still like your metaphorical children.
Yeah,
So
home is fun too.
yeah, so things that you create. So for instance, if you were someone who liked baking,
Hmm.
right, you could think of your baked goods as your creation, right?
Hmm.
So you're metaphorical children in a sense, except it's perfectly fine to eat a muffin, but not a child.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah.
So yeah. So I bet that you're probably quite productive in private. It's probably if people throw you a lot of responsibilities or tasks, especially with Saturn and you got Mars down there,
Hmm.
you're probably you're I wouldn't be at all surprised if when you were in public school or when you were at college, if you went to college, that you were probably much better at doing homework at home or in your dorm room or whatever than you would be doing your schoolwork in class with everyone else.
Well, not really. I don't like homework.
Well,
But at home and studying is a fun time. Just not
no one likes homework, but you
homework.
probably it's easier for you to be productive at home, right?
Oh yeah, it's quiet there.
Yeah, it's quiet there, exactly. Now, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. I like to call Jupiter in Cancer like the Santa Claus aspect.
What's that?
So that means that, so Cancer, the sign of Cancer is like it's ruled by the moon, and Cancer is like a moody, parental, sometimes mother-like, but
Hmm.
moody, crabby, because crab is like the symbol of Cancer.
Yeah. Hmm.
Crabby, but emotional and like comforting, and probably a nurturing figure to people, right? When Jupiter is there, Jupiter is the planet of expansion and opportunity and good luck, or overestimating your luck and losing everything at the casino or whatever. But Jupiter being in Cancer is what I call the Santa Claus aspect. So basically, it's if you think of what Santa Claus is like, ho ho ho, and like generously
Hmm.
giving gifts to children and spreading the cheer and whatnot. So it's like combining Jupiter's enthusiasm with Cancer's nurturing and yeah. So Jupiter is very, very happy in the sign of Cancer. It's exalted there. And you got
Hmm.
that right on your sun, but it's in your third house, but it's close to your IC cusp. I don't know whether you have siblings or not. The third,
Yes.
you do. Yeah. The third house is associated with one of there are lots of different things associated with the third house, but one of them is siblings.
Hmm.
And so I imagine, now it doesn't mean that you've never had any conflict or you've never fought with your siblings, but generally, more often than not, you're probably very caring toward your siblings,
Hmm.
right? Because you got like that nurturing sign there, like Cancer, and you got like Jupiter very happy there. The sun is not in detriment or fall, but it's not like exalted or in domicile either in Cancer. And if you want to learn some like really esoteric astrological vocabulary that would impress people, you can tell them it's peregrine. So a
What's that
planet
mean?
that's in a sign that is not especially strong or especially weak, we would call that peregrine.
Mm-hmm.
Or green, I think. I might not be pronouncing it correctly, so you gotta forgive me, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a fancy astrological term for that. Is that it's not in a sign that is either strong or weak. It just is. But you've
Mm-hmm.
got Jupiter in Cancer, which is exalted, and it definitely is conjunct your sun because your sun is at 15 degrees Cancer, and you got Jupiter at 17 degrees Cancer.
Mm-hmm. Those are close.
Yeah, it's very close. So yeah, let me see here. So you got Mercury in your fourth house in Leo. I would say it's just a minor thing. I see in your chart, like I'm looking at the aspects, you've got a good balance of easy trines and sextiles, which are, if you look at the chart drawings from Astrodientis, the easiest aspects are blue colored and the more difficult aspects are red colored. And then the minor aspects are green colored. So you've got
Mm-hmm.
a nice combination of like nice, easy trines and sextiles, and the more challenging squares. And I guess as Hordiantis is calling conjunctions a challenging aspect, but conjunctions, I would say, are not challenging or easy, aren't challenging or easy inherently. I would say
Mm-hmm.
what makes a conjunction challenging or easy is purely what the planets are, what sign is it in, what house, what aspects is the conjunction
Mm-hmm.
making with the other planets, right? But you
Mm-hmm.
also maybe a couple of oppositions, but that's good.
Okay.
So having easy aspects like trines and sextiles is good because you got a really comfortable, free flowing energy between the planets.
Mm-hmm.
And then having squares and oppositions, it, as long as you got some easy aspects to balance it out, are also good because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't come easy or naturally to you. You have to work for it a little bit, but it gives your character a little bit of grit and substance. People who have charts that are almost
Mm-hmm.
entirely trines and sextiles tend to be people who they consider life to be so easy that it bites them in the ass because they expect everything to go well. So when it
Mm.
doesn't, they're completely unprepared.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun.
But I've also known people who have like almost entirely difficult aspects in their chart.
That sounds hard. Yeah.
Yeah, either you've got a good person who is very troubled,
Mm-hmm.
or you've got an asshole. So I've got a disowned stepfather whose chart is all very, very difficult squares.
Mm.
And with his son and the I think the other main personal planets in Scorpio makes him a real asshole. You don't have any planets in Scorpio, so I'm not talking about you. Wait, you do have Uranus in Scorpio, but that's like and that's an impersonal planet. I'll get to that later.
Okay.
But Scorpio is if someone is a Scorpio or they've got really heavy Scorpio, they can either be like a really good healer, like emotionally healing sort of person, or they can be really horrible. And a bad Scorpio, a, an
Mm.
asshole Scorpio is a much worse asshole than an asshole of the other sign of the zodiac. And I am saying
Oh.
that as someone who is Scorpio rising with Mars and Pluto, this planet's associated with Scorpio in Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got I'm good authority to say that so I'm not really talking about you. I'm going on a tangent talking about my stepfather. So
Yeah.
pardon me, I've got like a Neptune Mercury conjunction in my chart, which might make and Jupiter there, which makes me kind of rambly and go off on a tangent. So I appreciate
Tangents are fun.
oh, there you go. I appreciate that. So yeah, you're not really Scorpio like in any way, but you do have an impersonal planet, which we also refer to as generational planets, because with
Mm-hmm.
the other planets, Like when you were in high school, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
some of the outer planets in certain signs of the zodiac you would have in common with the majority of the kids in that high school at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because the outer planets, especially the really far ones like Neptune and Pluto, can take many, many years to go through a sign of the zodiac. Whereas the fastest moving planets, we
Mm-hmm.
call the moon a planet in astrological language.
Mm-hmm.
So the moon is probably the fastest moving planet in astrological terms because it goes through the entire zodiac in about 28 days. I think more like 28.5 days.
Mm-hmm.
The sun and Mercury, roughly a year. Well, the sun definitely a year, 365, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mercury, roughly a year. Venus, I think, takes more like, I'll have to look it up, but yeah, so the more personal planets tend to move around the zodiac more quickly, and then the
Mm-hmm.
other planets move around the zodiac a lot more slowly. And then the planet that moves the slowest, I'm talking about a lot of astrologers consider all kinds of minor asteroids in their readings. I'm simply doing readings based on the planets and the nodes of the moon and Chiron, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But the planet that is the slowest moving is Pluto. And because Pluto takes 248 years to both
Wow.
orbit the sun and
Mm-hmm.
go through all signs of the zodiac. So that's more or less the same thing.
That's more than a lifetime.
Yeah. So no one on Earth has lived through their Pluto return. When we say a planet's return, that means it is returned to the position in the zodiac that it was on the time that you were born.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, your birthday is your solar return.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And you just had your birthday about 9 days ago because you were born on July 8th. So,
Uh-huh.
happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
So, that was your solar return.
Mm-hmm.
So, birthdays are solar returns. So, but now, so I'll finish interpreting your natal chart and then we'll get to your transits. So, what else do I see here? What I see that's important, that's significant is,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, now all the planets have nodes, but the set of nodes, and these aren't planetary bodies, it's more like a calculation that astrologers make.
Mm-hmm.
So your lunar nodes, and those are the only nodes that astrologers consider most of the time, unless you're getting really niche and esoteric, are the
Okay.
lunar nodes.
Mm-hmm.
And lunar nodes represent your life's destiny, basically. So
Mm-hmm.
if you do things that reflect your north node, you are moving in the direction that is good for you and is positive for your destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas south node, are things that you are very familiar with in your past, but if you try to be too much like that, you are not growing and evolving in this current lifetime.
Is it like moving backwards or stagnating?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So some some astrologers do not believe that people have multiple lives. So then the south node and the north node would be more like just what comes naturally to you and then what you gotta work toward in order to be the most fulfilled in life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But some astrologers are what we call evolutionary astrologers,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't mean that they are in the same area of study as Charles Darwin, right? It means that evolutionary astrologers believe that people have multiple lives.
Mm-hmm. But you would change between lives or something?
Yeah. So an evolutionary astrologer would believe that your south node would reflect who you were in a previous life.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, your south node is what comes naturally to you. Your north node doesn't necessarily come naturally to you, but if you work toward it, you will be more fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So in your case, you've got your north node. Let me see here. Yeah, it is at the very, very end of Virgo. So it's at 29 degrees Virgo North Node. So also when a planet or an astrological feature like the nodes of the moon are in the last degrees of a sign, it
Mm-hmm.
means that the tendencies of that sign are something that that planet or that astrological feature has become quite accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
And we go toward the end of the sign of the zodiac, they're getting more ready for the next stage, which would be the following sign of the zodiac, right? Whereas
Mm-hmm.
when a planet has just entered a sign of the zodiac, we call that an ingress. That means that the sign is still kind of new to that planet and they're learning and they're excited, right?
Mm-hmm.
But your north node is at basically the end of Virgo. So it and and it's in your sixth house. And so the sixth house is the house associated with Virgo. So if you can be really practical in your boring, everyday, mundane work,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's what the sixth house represents. It represents your boring, everyday, mundane work. So, for instance, for me, I am living in a one human household. So that means that all the household chores and cleaning and whatnot is all
Mm-hmm.
up to me. I can't delegate chores to someone else unless I hire a maid to come in or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have that kind of money right now. So I got to do all my own chores.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when I realize that my garbage bags are getting a little too full and I need to take them out, that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a sixth house kind of thing, right? I'm making my place more orderly. I'm doing like the everyday work and chores
Mm-hmm.
that we need to do in our lives every day.
Yeah.
And so you really shine there. You really shine in those boring everyday responsibility kind of moments. And you can be a very good service to people
Mm-hmm.
when you want to be, right? So
Yeah, I mean, like if I don't take out the garbage, it's just gonna stay there.
yeah. So and then that but so the nodes of the moon, like the ascendant, descendant, MC, IC axis, are always going to be in opposite signs
Mm-hmm.
because it's a bar, it's like an axis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means your south node is in the end degrees of Pisces. So you don't have any planets in Pisces or anything like that. You don't
Mm-hmm.
really have anything interesting going on that's Pisces related in your chart or anything. You don't even have anything important going on in your 12th house. You got a big, empty 12th house.
What does that mean?
So well, the 12th house is like the collective subconscious, and it also represents hospitals and prisons and like secretive things and also hidden enemies. And it's also kind of, I'm a very heavy sort of 12th house person. My chart rulers are in my 12th house.
Mm-hmm.
So I can be secluded in a way that's different from your more like fourth house emphasis of like your home life.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not having any planets in a sign or in a house, that house or that sign will become more important to you when there are transits going through it that
Mm-hmm.
impact you. But it's not, in a general sense, the most important area of life to you.
Okay.
But we
Yeah.
can understand how you would deal with matters related to that house by looking at the sign that's on the cusp of that house. So in your case, you've got Pisces on the cusp of your 12th house.
Okay.
And then you got like Aries intercepted in your 12th house. When we say the sign is intercepted, that means that there are no borders of houses in your chart inside that sign. So you don't have anything in Aries. So,
Mm-hmm.
but basically your 12th house, it starts with Pisces. You've got Aries kind of stuck in the middle there on tether to things. And then you got like Taurus, and then that goes into like your ascendant and then your first house.
Mm-hmm.
So when transits go through your 12th house, then 12th house matters will be important to you. But other than that, no. Whereas if
Mm-hmm.
you have lots of planets there, it would be different. Then it would be very important to you. But you're the opposite. You got the sixth house is very important to you. Now Pluto, you got Pluto there, you got Pluto and Libra there. And because Aries is intercepted in your 12th house, you've got
Mm-hmm.
Libra, the opposite sign, intercepted in your sixth house. And you got Pluto there, which is as generational of a planet as it gets. So you and everyone born in, I think, with Libra, roughly within like a 15-year time span, has
Mm-hmm.
Pluto Libra.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got Pluto there, which is a very, it's not anywhere near as significant as your more personal planets. But you got Pluto in Libra intercepted in your sixth house. So that means the cusp of your sixth house is in Virgo, the cusp of your seventh house or your descendant is in Scorpio. Libra is not tied to the borders of any houses, but you got Pluto in Libra and it's intercepted in your sixth house. So I look at that and I think in your everyday routines, because we're talking about sixth house, right? So in your
Mm-hmm.
everyday routines, you you can approach those matters with a lot of intensity, Pluto, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Libra, it's more about if you got like a malefic, like Pluto, for instance, in Libra, I think that that's someone whose forceful energy is looking for diplomacy. So if you saw a bunch of people fighting and bickering, and especially if it was impacting your everyday chores, your everyday mundane work,
Mm-hmm.
not you would you would feel this strong drive to want to establish balance there, like Libra, right? Libra.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're at work, for instance, and you got coworkers who are bickering with each other, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
you would probably want to be the driving force to establish some sort of equilibrium or balance.
Yeah, balance is fun.
Yeah, you do not like there to be conflict in your everyday routines and everyday work and mundane stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very much not. So that's why, but it can be kind of challenging for you because it's in Libra intercepted. So even though Pluto is kind of insignificant,
Mm-hmm.
it, that's kind of like the more minor way it does impact you. So then you got Uranus in Scorpio in your seventh house, and it's retrograde, but that's when we're looking at the outer planets are tend to like especially Uranus, Neptune, Pluto tend to be retrograde for about half of the year. So when we say a planet is retrograde, what that means is none of the planets actually go backwards, but it means from the vantage of the Earth, it appears to be going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly have never been to Los Angeles, but I feel like I'm very familiar with Los Angeles because of Hollywood and so
Yeah.
much Hollywood media being based in LA and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I know Los Angeles even though I don't.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I know about Los Angeles is that you do have an extensive public transit system, even though it's a very car-driven city.
Yeah.
And you have a subway system. A lot of people who have
Sort
never
of. Yeah.
been, a lot of people who have never been to LA don't know that LA has a subway.
Yeah, no, that's partly because it doesn't quite work the way it does other places. It's
Yeah, yeah. So if you're in New York or even where I am in Toronto, we consider our subway systems to be a lot more important than
hmm
how people or probably your city councilors and whatnot treat the Los Angeles subway.
hmm Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely know that you have a subway system.
hmm
So why am I saying that? Or why was I going on a tangent about that? And Uranus in Scorpio in your seventh house. I was going somewhere with that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But you're okay. That's oh, I know why. Because
Uh-huh.
Uranus is one of your retrograde planets. And when we say that a planet is retrograde, it means that it's not actually going backwards, but appears from our vantage to be going
hmm Okay.
backwards. So what I think is there was a time in my life that I was on the Toronto subway 20 plus times a week.
Oof.
Sometimes the subway train sometimes subway trains would stay at a station for a little bit,
hmm
but sometimes I would be the person in the subway train that is moving forward relatively quickly. But then there's another subway train on another track,
hmm
and you can see it when you're in the subway station. And the two subway trains could
hmm
both be going in the same direction. But if you are in the faster moving train,
hmm
and the train that is going in the same direction but at a slower speed will
Yeah.
appear to be moving backwards from your vantage.
Yeah.
So that's the physics of a retrograde planet. Now,
hmm
the astrological significance of that is when a planet is retrograde, we are reconsidering matters that we associate with that planet. Things associated with that planet aren't necessarily going to move smoothly during the time that that planet is retrograde, but it's a great opportunity to plan and reconsider things. So,
hmm
right now, there is a Mercury retrograde. And I got to tell you, I absolutely hate Mercury retrograde so much.
Oh.
Mercury, because it's a personal planet, it's a lot closer to the sun.
hmm
It retrogrades a lot more frequently, but it's not like the outer planets, which spend roughly half the year retrograde. So
Uh-huh.
an outer planet being retrograde isn't really too significant because they do tend to be retrograde half the year. But Mercury is direct, which is the opposite of retrograde. Mercury
hmm
is direct most of the time, but it is retrograde for approximately 3 weeks, about three times a year.
Oh, okay.
So when Mercury is retrograde, that means that the matters associated with Mercury are communication and planning and thinking and making plans move forward and stuff like that. And I I'm not going to get into my own chart too much, but because we're talking about yours instead. But
hmm
but the nature of my chart is I find Mercury retrogrades to be I really hate Mercury retrogrades. But if someone
hmm
uses a Mercury retrograde the right way, they
hmm
will reconsider their plans, and it's a good time to re. Generally, astrologers would say when Mercury is retrograde, it's not a good time to sign contracts or finalize your plans, but it is a good time to consider your plans and come up with ideas that you
hmm
should finalize once Mercury goes direct again.
Sort of a planning stage.
Yeah, but also you probably noticed during a Mercury retrograde, people get confused,
hmm
perceptions about things. Sometimes people say, "No, you sent me that email, but I didn't receive it. Send it to me again."
hmm
Those are very Mercury retrograde sort of phenomenon. But
Yep.
you don't have. Let me see. Yeah, you don't have Mercury retrograde. So I'm just going on a tangent here. But you've got Uranus and Neptune retrograde, and those are two distant interpersonal planets. So Uranus being retrograde is not such a big deal. It is
hmm
retrograde half of the year, basically.
Right.
But it's exalted in Scorpio. Uranus is exalted in Scorpio and it's in your seventh house. I have no idea whether or not you have a spouse or romantic partner. If you don't, the seventh house is also associated with your best friend or your business partners, or it can,
Close relationships.
yeah, it can be open enemies as well.
Oh, fun times.
So, but you got Uranus there in Scorpio and your seventh house. When you need when you need to be shaken up a little bit, when you feel like you're in a rut, and it's very easy for you to be in a rut because you got your Taurus rising, and you're,
Mm-hmm.
you do have some very earthy features, like you got your Mercury and Virgo in your fifth house and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
It is possible for you to sometimes feel like you're in a rut. You need the people that you have important one-on-one relationships with to kind of break you out of that rut, and
Uh-huh.
that's how I interpret your Uranus and Scorpio there.
Yeah,
And
people are
when they
helpful.
do so, most of the time you probably appreciate it because you got some easy aspects to Uranus. Sometimes you don't welcome it, but you might appreciate it later.
Mm-hmm.
So that you need other that's probably what you need other people for the most is you need them to break you out of your rut. When you get too focused on the everyday work or your home life, and you're
Mm-hmm.
definitely someone who would get very focused with their everyday
Yeah.
mundane life and their home lives and whatnot. Your families are probably very important to you. Also, having your son in Cancer and whatnot. But sometimes you do need people to break you out of that rut, and you've got Uranus there, which is also forming a very nice trine to your Sun and Jupiter in the middle of Cancer. So, so other people breaking you out of your rut is actually very good for your long time goals in life
Mm-hmm.
and how you really see yourself. But then you got some difficult aspects to Uranus as well. I would say probably the square with Mercury and the square with your moon. But that's more of an opportunity. Like with your
Oh.
with Mercury, it's giving you the opportunity to think in a more revolutionary way, but there might be a little friction and takes a little bit of work.
Mm-hmm.
Uranus squaring your moon is probably even more significant. So you've got your moon in Leo. You're probably a lot more gregarious and a lot more. Look at me, I'm a great host. Look at me, I'm so entertaining. Blah blah blah. That's what Leo is like, right? And you got
Mm-hmm.
your moon there,
Yeah,
right?
it's easy with people around, not so much by myself.
Exactly. So people might think of you as some boring person, but when they meet you at home, all of a sudden you're like, "Welcome to my humble abode. Look, I've got hors d'oeuvres, and I've got the finest alcoholic and non-alcoholic wines, and I've
Mm-hmm.
got some great music to listen to, and let's have a party." Right? So you got Uranus squaring that. You got Uranus squaring your moon. So you still sometimes you feel like the way that other people shake things up, sometimes in ways that you need to get you out of your rut, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you don't appreciate how that might interfere with the fun that you have at home.
Yeah.
And now you got Neptune in Sagittarius, that's very generational. Neptune in the middle of Sagittarius in your eighth house. So, yeah, Neptune in Sagittarius is generational. I was born in at a point in January 84 when Neptune was just going between Sagittarius and then entering, like we call it, an ingress into Capricorn. But in my chart, it was just like at the end of Sagittarius, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you've got Neptune like near in the middle of Sagittarius because you're a little bit older than me. But you are. Neptune there. Now this is kind of impersonal, so it's not as significant to you in your psyche as when I talk about your sun and moon and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the eighth house has to do with other people's things, other people's money, other people's resources, death and taxes and whatnot. And Neptune there, Neptune's quite happy in Sagittarius, even though it might not be exalted, it is quite happy there. So the whole Neptune in Sagittarius generation, which I would say is probably roughly early 1970s to January 84, because I know that's roughly when that changed signs into Capricorn. Um, those of us who have Neptune in Sagittarius, we might romanticize foreign, these are things associated with Sagittarius, foreign cultures, exploring the world, higher learning, whatnot. We might romanticize that,
Mm-hmm.
romanticize it, Neptune, right? We might
Mm-hmm.
have, like, we might idealize it. That's more Neptune, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, You got that in your eighth house. So let me combine those elements there. Neptune in Sagittarius in your eighth house.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe at some point, do you have you do you have relatives or associates who live like on the other side of the planet? Don't have to tell me where. Just do they
Yeah.
live like in a different country far away?
And some, yes.
Yeah, I do too. I think most of us do
Mm-hmm.
have relatives who don't live in Canada or the United States. But
Yeah.
more case in the eighth house, like the eighth house is also associated with inheritances and other people's money and stuff like that. Neptune there is like the planet of illusion, deception, and whatnot. So I kind of think maybe at some point, maybe you have relatives in a different country who maybe promised you something that you would inherit from them, and then it turned out to not be quite what they said it was or what you thought it was going to be. You might have been disappointed about that.
That would be disappointing.
Not might be money, might not be money.
Yeah.
It might be I've got these majestic vases from hundreds of years ago that have been handed down the family. And Jimmy, I'm going to make sure that you inherit these.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're so excited that you're going to inherit some really old vases that you could probably
Mm-hmm.
take to Antiques Roadshow, and they might be worth thousands of dollars or more, and you're really excited about that. But then you take those vases to Antiques Roadshow or to some other antiques appraiser, and they're like, Jimmy, these are not ancient vases that are worth a lot of money.
No.
These were manufactured for Target, and your relatives bought it at Target, and it's worth $20. Sorry. Maybe that specific scenario probably didn't happen to you, probably something thematically similar to that
Mm-hmm.
was probably an issue at some point. And then finally, you got your MC or medium coli quite naturally in Capricorn, because Capricorn is associated with the 10th house and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super significant to you because you don't really have any planets in your 10th house, and you don't really have any significant aspects to your MC. Although, yeah, I would say your Jupiter Sun conjunction I would say your Sun Jupiter conjunction near your IC is opposing your MC. So, in that sense, your MC, even though your 10th house is empty, is significant to you in that way. So, that is the MC is like the public and your
Mm-hmm.
career. I would say the way people think about you online, if all they ever know you from is you being online, that would
Mm-hmm.
be a 10th house or MC sort of thing. So people probably think that, that you're quite capable of being responsible and being a good, like, kind of modest, humble leader, but you don't really. have any planets there. And really, what's more you is like your sun Jupiter that's near your IC. That's
Mm-hmm.
the nurturing generosity that you feel toward your siblings and your private home life.
Yeah, I like people, but I don't like hanging out with people.
Yeah, exactly. I can definitely see even with your moon being in Leo and your Venus being in Leo, I can still kind of see introversion.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. So that is your natal. So now we will go through your transits.
Oh, okay.
So I sent you images for all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to start with your transits for today. So I'm going to find that chart here. Yeah, which is today is July 17th, 2026.
Uh-huh.
And so your transits today. Now, when I interpret transits, like
Mm.
other astrologers, I don't consider. So, first of all, maybe it would help for me to explain what a transit is.
Yeah, please.
So, a transit is uh, where the planets are at any given time in relation to where the planets were when you were born.
Okay.
So, that means like how are things unfolding in your life? One way that we can interpret that is by looking at your transits.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. So for today, July 17th, 2026, I'm going to just look at outer planets that are transits
Mm-hmm.
because that's usually what we consider to be important, whereas the inner planets move around the zodiac a lot more often. They're not that significant as transits to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have had Jupiter transiting your fourth house for some time. And the fourth house is like your home life and your family and whatnot. And Jupiter is the planet of like good luck and abundance and opportunity and whatnot. You're a very homebody sort of person. So you're probably quite glad that Jupiter has been transiting your fourth house. You've probably found
Mm-hmm.
opportunities within your family or at home over the past, I would say at least half a year to 8 months already. You've had opportunities present themselves to you in your family life or your home life. So that's
Mm-hmm.
quite positive for you. And as Jupiter transits through Leo more and more and more, it's going to first conjunct your Mercury at 8 degrees Leo. So I would say roughly in a couple of months, you might feel flashes of inspiration, right? You might get some
Mm-hmm.
really great ideas as Jupiter transits conjunct your Mercury, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually it'll get to your moon. I would say probably this fall, it'll be conjuncting your moon. So you will feel very emotionally benevolent,
Uh-huh.
very good for you and your mental health. And you might want to host a party for the people in your family who you love and care about this
Mm-hmm.
fall. You know, they might appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. But there's always bad news. There's always good things.
Yeah.
Always bad. So
Mm-hmm.
Pluto has been transiting your 10th house for a long time. Pluto is a slow moving planet, so it will stay in a certain sign or a certain house for a long time.
Ooh.
And Pluto has been transiting your 10th house, I would say, roughly the past decade or so.
Ooh, that's a while, isn't it?
Yeah. So now it's in the earlier degrees of Aquarius, but it's been in your 10th house since it crossed the last third of Capricorn, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have Pluto is a planet of like transformation. You might have found your career to have a lot of interesting, intense disruptions, and because it stays in your 10th house for a long time, you're kind of used to that right now. You don't like it. You're very, you're Taurus
Yeah.
ascendant, you like stability, but with Pluto transiting your 10th house, you've probably gotten used to a lot of disruptions in your career.
Mm-hmm.
And well, you could say that about most of us, because of our economic system collapsing.
Yeah.
You are feeling that personally in your 10th house. Is there's probably a lot of things that you can do professionally that you're really good at, but it doesn't matter. You've had to deal with a lot of intense disruptions and transformations in that area of your life. So you've probably gotten used to that by now.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably makes your home life and your private life that much more comforting because there aren't challenging disruptions there.
Little what's it called balance again, right?
Yeah. And then let me see. And then what's also kind of significant is Neptune and Saturn have been transiting your 12th house for a while in Aries. So Neptune is like delusions, dreams, and then like Saturn is like the stern taskmaster and the hard lessons that are good and important to learn and your dignity and whatnot. And so yeah, so privately you might have been for like several years now feeling kind of dreamy, but also yeah, Neptune feels quite natural in the 12th house because Neptune, 12th house, Pisces are all associated concepts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to park Neptune somewhere for a while, it's probably best in your 12th house, which is already like your more private, secretive side that people don't see so much.
Mm-hmm.
But you also got Saturn there, and Saturn's not quite so happy in your 12th house. I got Saturn in my 12th house natally, so I feel you. But yeah, you might have found some interesting challenges. Maybe you've for the past several years now, you've found that if you don't have a structured bedtime, that it'll affect your ability to sleep, to get like good restful sleep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I mean, don't have a good normal sleep time.
Yeah.
You wake up when the sun comes up, or go to sleep when the sun comes up.
Yeah. Well,
But,
if you don't do that, especially with Saturn transiting your
mm-hmm.
12th, you might find that the structure of your life goes awry.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, as much as you possibly can, try to go to sleep and wake up at the same time of day every day, because
Mm-hmm.
that right. It might also be a good idea for you to consider any sort of limitations in your subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
things that you are feeling but you're not consciously aware of. You
Mm-hmm.
might want to I don't know if you can relate to this, but sometimes I've been in a dream state where I'm not fully awake and I'm not fully asleep, but I kind of am awake enough to realize that I'm dreaming,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not awake enough to not be dreaming. You
Yeah.
might when you're in that sleep phase where you're
Mm-hmm.
semi asleep, semi dreaming, you might then start to realize what sort of obstacles or challenges that you've been dealing with subconsciously, like a Saturn
Mm-hmm.
during taskmaster limits and whatnot. That would be a good idea when you are semi awake, semi asleep, or when you can remember what dreams you had last night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Write it down, or at least try to remember it somehow, and that might help you realize what sort of blockages or limits that you have in your subconscious that have been
Mm-hmm.
holding you back.
Yeah.
You also have like Chiron that has been transiting your 12th house for quite some time too. So that would all be very good work for you. So yeah, that's looking at your transits for literally today.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to skip forward 3 months into October. Let's see if I can find October. There's January. There's 2 years from now. There. So now I'm skipping ahead to October 17th, 2026, and looking at your transits.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow. Yeah. So, October, so just before Halloween, that is when, okay, more like the beginning of October.
Mm-hmm.
So, for you Americans, that is Thanksgiving time, right? In Canada, we celebrate Thanksgiving in November, but in the United States, you celebrate it in early October, right?
No, no, it's like in November as well.
Well, I was pretty
Supposed to
sure.
be the third or fourth Thursday, I think.
Okay. Well, either way, in the beginning of October,
Uh-huh.
Jupiter transiting is going to conjunct your moon. So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a very pleasant time for you, as I probably mentioned in your today natal
Mm-hmm.
trend. Uh, for you, this fall or early October might be a good time for you to have a family get together, and you should host it because
Mm-hmm. That sounds good. Yeah.
Jupiter is right on your moon and it's in the fifth house. So, yeah, you're going to feel quite jovial, quite generous to people while they're uh, while they're visiting you. So that would be a good time for that, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What else do I find here that is somewhat significant? So, I mean, the other outer planets like are in the same position that they are today. So Pluto is in 10th house, Neptune, Saturn in your 12th house. So I'm not going to go over that again. But Uranus is, well, Uranus has been retrograde for a while. So Uranus has already been in your second house a little bit. And now at that point, at October 17th, it's just about to leave your second house because it is retrograde and enter your first house.
Mm-hmm.
That means, like, for the past few months now, there may have been some. Uranus is the planet of like revolution and change and rebelliousness and whatnot. You may have found some unexpected surprises in your finances or in your personal values, because those are the things that
Hopefully not my finances.
those are what the second house is associated with.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that you are going to all of a sudden be in poverty or anything like that, but it might be good or bad. You might you might open your mail or look at your email and
Mm-hmm.
wow, I someone sent me a bunch of money that I wasn't expecting. That's good, a sudden
Mm-hmm.
windfall. Or it might be I'm supposed to get paid by my employer once every 2 weeks, but they have had a Gen AI related bug with their payroll system, which has delayed their direct deposit for a while. And yeah, that's kind of pissing me off because I was expecting my pay on
Mm-hmm.
Friday. So, and then beyond money, the second house is also associated with what you value. So
Mm-hmm.
there are probably things that you feel very strongly about that you like or that you dislike or whatnot. So that would be like your second house. The things that your personal values. So for instance, if you care about the earth and the environment, environmentalism could be one of your values, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like it when people litter. You don't like it when people drive their cars to go to the 7-Eleven that is immediately outside of their home,
Yeah,
which is probably a very Los Angelino thing to do, is to
very much so.
for 30 seconds. But I don't know what your personal values are. I know nothing about it. But that's what the second house is associated
Mm-hmm.
with. There might be some disruptions about that. You might change your mind about things that you used to think were important values to you. There might be some disruption because Uranus is going to, after it goes retrograde, it's going to re enter your second house in Gemini. And these are things that you're going to have to deal with, sudden unexpected surprises in your finances, in your personal belongings, in your values.
Mm-hmm.
So just be on guard for that. Just be on guard for that. You could become wealthier or poorer, but there will be change and disruption.
Mm-hmm. Interesting times.
Yeah. So now we are fast forwarding to January 17th, 2027.
Mm-hmm.
So middle of winter, which I hear in LA means that it's probably a chilly 60 Fahrenheit, right?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of wide variance in temperature.
Get out your windbreaker. The wind might be a little cool, right?
It is still in rainy season though, so that could be fun times.
So January 17, 2027 transits. So Uranus has been retrograde enough that it's more in your first house now than in your second house.
Mm-hmm.
So you might think back to the first house is like the house of self and your personal identity and whatnot. Whatever sort of disruptions have been going on with your finances or your things or your values, you're now starting to reconsider and integrate it again into your identity a little more because it's going into your first house.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Think about how maybe disruptions to your values or your things or your money, how that makes you feel about yourself and how that can impact how you present yourself to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to consider that. Jupiter is still in your fifth house transiting, but it's gone retrograde. But still, it's going to be a good time for you for quite some time. Jupiter transiting your fifth house. There's going to be lots of merriment and probably, during all this time that Jupiter is transiting your fifth house. I don't know if you like drawing or making art or baking or cooking or anything like that, but if there's anything like that that you like to create, that you take
Mm-hmm.
pride in, you're gonna really enjoy engaging in your hobbies and your creations
That sounds like fun.
for all that time that
Yeah.
Jupiter's transiting your fifth house. You're gonna find also like Jupiter has to do with opportunity and
Mm-hmm.
expansion and whatnot. So let's say you do have a hobby. Let's say you have a hobby, let's say pottery, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it would be a great time for you to sit at your pottery wheel and come up with some new ideas for things that you can make with clay. And you would not be alone because Seth Rogen, I believe, has taken up pottery as a
Yeah.
hobby since the COVID pandemic started. So you
Yeah.
should I don't know if that's your hobby or if you like to make something else or you like cooking or you like reading books or writing books or
Yeah.
but
Creating's fun times.
whatever you consider to be a good creative outlet for you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's going to be very fruitful for you during all that time that Jupiter is transiting your fifth house.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you don't have children, the children in your family might feel especially like fun times with you.
Mm.
So if you've got nieces or nephews or other children in your, or even like grandnieces or grandnephews or whatnot, because we're all getting middle aged now. Even I'm middle aged. I'm younger than you, and I'm middle aged, so you're definitely middle aged. You might start having grandnieces and grandnephews as well.
Mm-hmm.
uh, they will have a lot of fun with you. If they are, I'm kind of concerned that children these days don't play the way we did when we were kids because they get an iPad thrown into their cribs the moment they're born.
Yeah.
But if the kids in your family do like to play the way our generations did, because we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have an iPad thrown in our cribs when we were toddlers,
Yeah.
it would be a great opportunity for you to, be the cool adult and be like, yeah, I'll play house with you. I'll
Oh,
be I'll be the mommy, right? Or
yeah. Creative things are fun.
yeah. So that would be a good time for you to do stuff like that. And children will probably children probably like you a lot already, but they'll probably especially like that and like playing with you and
Mm.
showing you the thing that they made with crayons at school that they glued a bunch of macaroni to and stuff like that.
Children still have imagination. Uh,
Exactly. They haven't had their souls crushed yet.
yeah. That's the point. You got to get adults to get that back.
So now we're gonna fast exactly. Now we're gonna fast forward. I'm not gonna do every 3 months for the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to fast forward to July 17th, 2028, which is 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got, let's see here. That's enough time going forward that there should be some more significant changes with your outer planet transits. So
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter, 2 years from now, Jupiter would have just entered your sixth house. So 2 years from now would be a good time for you to find opportunities in your everyday, boring, mundane chores and responsibilities. You know, maybe you're the person at work who does all the boring stuff that keeps the company going that you're not really appreciated so much because, yeah, the sixth house are usually like the kind of tasks and work that are important to do, but people don't necessarily
Mm-hmm.
appreciate them, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
like children in their laundry is magically done every week, and they don't realize that someone
Yeah.
is doing their laundry for them. But but with Jupiter entering your sixth house, whether or not people appreciate your efforts in the everyday mundane sort of tasks and work, you'll find opportunities there. Maybe good luck. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe when you're doing other people's laundry for them at home or whatever, you might find all of a sudden, oh wow, uh, these jeans that my siblings have been wearing for the past 20 years now, on and off, until they're all faded, and then they restitch them and kind of customize them into being like really trendy, worn jeans and all that. I
Mm-hmm.
actually sell these on eBay now as like special vintage, and people value jeans that are worn and that
Mm-hmm. They
have some
survived.
wear and tear. These are very special pair of jeans,
Mm-hmm.
and someone on eBay would be happy to pay $500 for them,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're old, used, worn jeans. So yeah, that could
Yeah.
be that exact thing is not going to happen to you, but there might be themes similar to that, or your
Yeah.
everyday routines. So you're going around your Los Angeles neighborhood and you're doing your everyday tasks. You're going to the supermarket. You're taking your non-launderable stuff to the dry cleaners and picking it up and stuff like that. You might find all of a sudden you go to the dry cleaners to pick up your special things that were dry cleaned and be like, and the guy running the dry cleaner shop is like, hey, Jimmy, we need someone like you to completely revitalize our dry cleaning business. And we'll happily hire you in a non-managerial role, because like that managerial stuff wouldn't really be the sixth house. The sixth house is more like the labor work.
Mm-hmm.
But we will hire you as a staff member, not managerial, to do the transformative work that we need to make our our dry cleaners more competitive with all the other dry cleaners in the middle of San Bernardino or wherever in LA that you're from or whatever. I don't tell me. I'm not entitled to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. But so we will hire you to do the boring mundane work to revitalize our dry cleaners and make it more competitive with the other dry cleaners. We're going to hire
Mm-hmm.
you for $200,000 a year, because
Mhm.
that is how important it is that we have this dry cleaners completely reconfigured, better decor. We'll make it kind of trendy. We'll put some neon lights. We'll install a sushi bar in the dry
That's some good dry
cleaner.
cleaner.
It's a very LA sort of thing, right? Or maybe a fancy taco stand, because that's a very LA
Hmm.
sort of, right? And we'll put you in charge of that. And yeah, you're not the manager, you're not the boss, but for doing the mundane work to make that happen, we'll
Hmm.
pay you 200 grand a year. You know, oh yeah, I'll take that. So that's
Yeah,
it.
a lot of
Excellent
tacos.
pay for a job like that.
Oh yeah.
And not that exact thing is not going to happen to you, but there might be similar themes and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And then the transiting North Node will have just crossed your MC, so the 10th house. So not so yeah, you combine the North Node of the Moon, the transiting North Node of the Moon, crossing your MC into your 10th house with Jupiter entering your 6th house. So 10th house is like career, and 6th house is more like the mundane everyday work. But both are looking positive and like with opportunities. So exactly 2 years from now, you might find that you get a new career opportunity and you find good luck in the everyday mundane work that that sort of positive career shift would entail. So exactly 2 years from now is going to be a really good time in your life for practical matters and for
Hmm.
moving your career forward and whatnot. So yeah. And that's did I do a chart for 2029, which would be 3 years from now? Yeah, I did. I just gotta find it.
Hmm.
2029. Oh, that's 2029. I'm all disorganized here, but there we go. July 17, 2029. So that's exactly 3 years from now. And this is going to be the last part of our reading.
Hmm.
So let me see here. Is there anything kind of significant here? Yeah, so 3 years from now, Jupiter would have been transiting your 6th house for quite some time. So that good luck, good fortune in your everyday mundane life. That's just a pattern that you've been in the middle of for a while, 3 years from now.
Hmm.
But Uranus has been direct in your 2nd house for longer at this point. So the surprise disruptions in your finances or your personal values are something that you would have gotten used to for a while by the time that 3 years from now.
Hmm.
So think about how maybe your values may have changed a little bit, may have been shaken up, or maybe there have been some sort of either positive or negative transition in your finances or whatnot. Think about what you've had to do to kind of manage that sort of disruption. And by 3 years from now, you would have had some time duration practice with that.
Hmm.
And transiting Chiron would have just had entered your 1st house for a while. So you got Taurus there and whatnot, and you got Saturn at that point 3 years from now. Saturn had been transiting your 1st house for a while. So these are going to be times 3 years from now when you kind of got to consider things that have been painful or difficult or challenging for
Hmm.
you when it comes to how you react impulsively to things, because that's like your ascendant first house. You're gonna, it might kind of change your outlook on life or how people perceive you. People might be Eureka. Three years from now, people might be a little bit more aware of the challenges that you deal with or your deep innermost pain, and they might feel a little more compassion towards you. They might feel a sort of sympathy toward you. So while things have been improving in your career for a while. All of a sudden now people know about that thing that hurt your feelings when you were a kid, that was left a mark on you. Now people are understand that part of you a little bit more, and they
Mhm.
feel very compassionate towards you because of that. So there we go. So now I will let you ask questions if you'd like, and I'll happily answer them.
Oh, don't know what to ask. 'Cause there's so much stuff there. I mean, uh, like the 3 years out, it's hard to work with because it's like that's stuff ahead of you, right? But like the up close stuff is easier to think of, you know?
Yeah. Well, then that's good then.
Yeah,
All right. Well, if you are satisfied, this is a free reading anyway, and
yeah,
it's
you know, it's all awesome. Like,
you are helping me out by having a sample of my astrology website that will, because it no one should be paying me for astrological services if they don't know what those services are like or
yeah,
whether I'm a good astrologer or not.
yeah, because like
So
they don't know what what they're expecting, you know. That's the
yeah.
thing.
So they are going to use this audio recording to judge whether I'm a good astrologer or not. And
Mhm.
so for doing me that favor, you get this reading free of charge.
So thank you very much. It was like actually quite enlightening.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I've already emailed you all the visuals of the chart that I produced off of
Yes.
Astro. So what I got to do is I will send you this audio recording, and I'm going to I probably hit the stop record.
Okay.
And I'm going to, there we go, stop recording.